Hush Puppy sneaks up to sleeping Wink, holding the medicine jar under her arm and a bottle of Jameson in her hand. Hush Puppy, you gonna be dead? What? No. You gonna leave me alone? I ain't gonna leave him nothing. Hush Puppy throws a tantrum. She starts breaking everything she can get her hands on. Wink joins in. We animals, Hush Puppy, I'm an animal. Yeah, need some work.
Really, the hardest part of making an independent movie, or any movie, is having a good script.
The story is a little girl in South Louisiana, and her dad starts to die, and the world starts to end. And
she has to build a family before everything in her world slips away.
And they charge into it with great joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's always one script that's very daunting, and Beasts of the Southern Wild, that's the one. The world that it is set in, it's so imaginative and it's so vivid, and I tend to be very logical and very linear. So the challenge is to come into it and provide any sort of help without saying, well, none of this makes any sense and you have to fix all of that.
I'm trying to find a way to marry wanting to do these huge mythic stories with like essentially just real people in them.
My suggestion would be to take all of the disaster and all of the catastrophe out of the script and look at the story for the people in it. Imagine that this story was happening in Connecticut in the middle of the summer.
Even minor characters have to be able to walk out of this movie and into their own movie. And I have to know what that movie is.
There's always those things that you cheated on, you know, and when an actor takes a look at it and they have to be this person, they are going to explain to themselves everything that character does, you know, and Eddie had thought through every single thing that he does, stuff that I hadn't really thought about why the character did. He had thought about why he did it, and it can't just be because I say so.
Each character has his or her own dynamic. Because for me, if that's not on the page, actors can come in and read whatever you've written, but for them to have chops with that material, that rhythm or that way of speaking or that engine that's running that character, it needs to be on the page.
I tend to overwrite descriptive passages in the beginning 20 pages of my movie, maybe less, because I always find it as like the inkwell I go back to. So whether I'm describing my hero, my character, my lead, one of them, I can always go back and reread those couple of lines, which kind of recenters me and says, right, that's who he is, that's who we are, that's where we are, this is where we're going.
Hush Puppy's character is so heightened and so raw, and there's a great deal of complexity behind her wanting to save her father. If that is what motivates Hush Puppy, that would suddenly determine the nature of the relationship with the father in the beginning of the movie in order for that to resonate at the end.
Every story is a beginning, a middle, and an end. Every scene kind of has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And sometimes we don't see the beginning. It's like sometimes we come into a scene in the middle.
If I don't know how it ends, I'll never get there.
But I always quote Walter Mosley, who in one of these meetings said, well, what's the fun of writing if you know how it's going to end? I love rewriting. I can't understand the people who complain about rewriting. I mean, rewriting is so much easier than writing for the first time. The work that's hard for me, the initial creation of the universe, is done. Once you have that, no matter how much you change it, no matter how much you go away from it, you always have that to come back to.
I would never tell you to write something you don't want to write. I would urge you to push to explore anything you're afraid to explore.
So I think as far as the next stage of the rewrites, really working towards those, what we learned about the relationships, I think is the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things that's gonna come away from this.
We want everybody to love this movie.
Because we do.
Yeah, because we do.
Fred, can I have the second half?
Yeah, I want to know. I'll put in the
first 5 pages are your fault.
Yeah.
Next is to go home and just jump into pre-production.
A week sleeping
It's going to be jumping back into writing.